Just making a slight change. I'll be talking about teaching PBL and assessing the same thing with an OSEX in the same setting. So I have ICO to thank for and International Association of Medical Science Educators to thank for. And I'll just run through a couple of people I have to thank. So it's FIMER, from where we have learned quite a bit of this. The GSMC FIMER, with which we had done University of Nebraska, Michigan, University of Michigan, and the webinar workshops which ICO has been conducting, Harvard Medical School, NHS, University of Birmingham, and the International Association of Medical Science Educators. So besides that, Toronto and other places from which we've done. So let me tell you one thing, whenever we start with any presentations, we have to have our objectives there. So this is something that is not very nice. I have put in 9 objectives and it's not smart. So they're supposed to be smart objectives, and when we are assessing the student, it is the objectives on which we are assessing them. So my objective was something, and my assessment should be whether I have been able to deliver something, and I have to figure out whether the student has learned it. If there are mismatched objectives, the student wants to learn something else and I want to teach something else, there's going to be a problem. So what are we diagnosing when we are using the OSEX, when we are using the clinical examination in the clinic, the objective clinical examination? We know that teaching is not equal to learning, and learning is not equal to competence, and competence is not equal to performing. So I may have been teaching somebody, but it's not necessary that the person learned it. It's also not necessary that the person who's learned it is competent in it. I might have learned something, but I might still not be competent in it. And even if I'm competent, I may not actually be able to perform it. So the whole thing here is, what we are trying to assess in the clinic is problem-based learning. So we have to teach them how to diagnose a problem and solve the problem. Professional competence is defined as habitual and judicious use of all of these skills: communication skills, knowledge skills. So this is what you're trying to assess in a student. So what these doctors, as people, we come out into the public, we need knowledge, we need ability to elicit information, interpersonal skills to respond to people. So the types of curricula that we integrate is problem-based learning, task-based learning, hot case learning, and each of these can be then assessed in a very objective, structured way by asking specific questions. What we need to do here is, before we do this, we need to plan the session. We need to plan what questions I'm going to ask based on what is there in front of me during the session when the person is in the clinic. So this is something that you're going to learn in the clinic, and this is what you're going to assess in the clinic. And afterwards, once the clinic is over, you still have to follow it up with a feedback and a reflective session, because unless you reflect, you're not going to learn anything about it. So you have to reflect for the next session, then the next examination, and the next thing that you are going to do. So these are examinations, small structured examinations, like we have the OSCE in the DNB. This is something that you're going to do in the clinic. So you've got to be prepared with it. You've got to learn what the student has learned and not learned, and what he has not learned is the focus of your next, is the objective of your next teaching as well as assessment. So teaching and assessment will go hand in hand. One thing without the other doesn't really make sense. So let's do it. Now, pitfalls in clinical education are many, so I'm going to run through a couple of slides. There are many challenges for teachers. The teacher's objectives are many. You have to have positive attitude, friendly, role modeling. All these things will be something that will be necessarily seen by the student and emulated by the student. So I'm just going to run through those things. There are many teaching styles. There are traditional lectures, mini talk, but what we are talking about, back to the bedside. The bedside is something where you need to be ready with some preparation. In the bedside, you're going to do the demonstration model. You're going to introduce the subject. So I'll come to an example later on. So this is drab. This is something that, this is what I'm trying to demonstrate, is this is not the way we really want to do things. I will come to the clinical examination. So between traditional and modern methods, we actually don't do these didactic lecture things, because that's something that's going to happen. The student is going to walk out of it. The mind is going to walk out of it. So the newer concepts are going to be self-directed learning. We give them something like a flipped classroom. You tell them that tomorrow's OPD is going to be something like this, and you expect some questions here. The OPD is supposed to be a retina OPD, so be prepared with retina questions and retina cases. The need should be felt, and there should be active participation. And each one of them is capable of original critical thinking. So we are focusing on core competencies. So the core competency here is going to be problem solving. And why problem solving? Because this is something that you're going to do in life, and they are going to do that in life ever later. So when you're doing this, you define the problem, you formulate a hypothesis about it, strategize for the assessment. So when you're forming your OSEX, you got to think that I want him to know at least at the level that the student is, if it's an undergraduate versus a postgraduate versus a fellow. So I will talk in terms of oculoplasty. So if I am talking about lids at a level of undergraduate, I want them to identify whether it's an entropion or ectropion, whether it is a trichiasis or an entropion. So that is what I'm going to assess. At the level of a resident, I'm going to assess whether he knows how to evaluate and figure out what are the different types of entropion, ectropion. And at a fellow level, I'm going to ask him questions like, what is it that you see here? Do you see a vertical lid laxity? Do you see horizontal lid laxity? How is this going to be important in what surgical strategy you are going to adopt? So you got to reflect on what you are going to ask in the OSEX, and then you got to formulate and define that problem for you. And you got to teach that to the student, let them devise a hypothesis, and then strategize for your assessment. Then you come down to, you narrow diagnosis in the entropion, you narrow down your diagnosis in what the student's problem is. So what is he not understanding? So he's not understanding a particular thing, I'm going to reflect on that and come back with the next OSEX. So the advantage is that you get a holistic view. There are disadvantages. It's very difficult to do this kind of a thing in your busy practice. The role of the teacher here is just an initiator and a hard worker. And you do what is called as a Socratic method. So you open up, so when you're doing your OSEX, you do the Socratic method, you throw up a broad question. So you make the broad question. The Socratic method is where you are making the student think through, so it's a formative assessment, so you're making the student think through your questions. So you throw a broad question. You say, what do you think is the problem in this particular case? Why is he watering? So is it excess watering, or is it some entropion, ectropion, or trichiasis? Then you narrow down the question. Is it, you don't give leading questions, but you narrow down. So what do you think in the lid is seen? What do you think about positions of the lid? What do you think about laxity? And then you go down and narrow down your questions, and you will be able to figure out how is the student being formed. So you know that the concepts are there. So I'll come to that. So your issue here is you want to promote reflective thinking and critical thinking through your questions. So your questions are such that makes the student think. So while you are constructing questions for a guided inquiry, use your verbs very carefully. So you use your verbs according to the Bloom's taxonomy, and you aim them at cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skill assessment, each one of them. So can you demonstrate this? Can you just show me? And then you break it into part. Did he introduce himself to the patient? Was he courteous? Then you are assessing all the skills that I spoke about. The professional skills, the communication skills, the soft skills, and all of that is in an objective format with you. And that is what you are trying to assess. There are student skills, the ability to gather knowledge, analyze the information, indulge in scientific, logical reasoning. This is what you are trying to assess through something that you've made. So OSEX is something that you got to make. You can't pick up an OSEX from an internet. I think that's a very wrong thing to do. So each one of us has to make that OSEX at that particular time. I could make an OSEX for you right now if you tell me what needs to be done. So you have to prime the learners as to what is expected out of them. What is it that I'm going to ask you? And you're not going to penalize it, because this is not summative assessment, this is formative assessment. You're trying to learn what you're teaching them is being learned, or what concepts are being picked up. And then you have to do modeling. So you have to show them, see, I am doing this, so you are the model. So it's a very busy slide, but that's what you do. You ascertain the learner's analysis of the case by modeling as to show him what is your analysis of the case. And then you have to give them feedback and look at whether he has attained concept. So concept attainment, so concepts are learned by seeing examples and counter examples. So you're necessarily supposed to give them a counter example. You know, this is entropion, so what do you think would be in an ectropion? So what do you think would be a case where it's not watering because of a lid problem? So it would be something where there's over-secretion because of some other issues. So you give examples, counter-examples, and then you match between them. And then you make the students reflect. So you do concept maps. So you try to find out whether the person has understood a concept, and you have a focus question. The concept map consists of a focus question of prepositions, and then the concepts are joined by linking phrases. So this is how you form your question. and there is a hierarchical structure, and then you cross-link. So you find out, go to the basic concepts. So I will talk about basic concepts about positions of the lid. Then I will talk about lid in terms of eyelashes and the lid, in terms of the physiology of the lid. Then I will go to the pathology and then to the medical problem. So I will cross-link this, that he's understood the medical problem. I will go back to whether he is correlating this with the anatomy. So the anatomical concepts are clear, the pathological concepts are clear, and then the surgical concepts are clear. So there's cooperative learning here, where you can make them into groups of 4, and you have to have a good student paired with a not so good student. There is nothing called as a bad student, and you have to give them some autonomy. And the essential prerequisites are teamwork, and the methods are cooperative. You can do peer-to-peer, so you can ask one student to do an OSCE on the other one and tell him, what do you think? Where are his concepts? So if it's a better student, you tell him, what are his concepts and can you help him out? It's sometimes that the not so better student tells you things about the better student which you didn't realize. You have to have simulations. Now, giving an example, there are times when students, I have asked them what is a ophthalmic condition with red eye. So most of the times what you want them to understand is concept mapping and to create a problem-based learning methodology. If I just tell them what are the causes for red eye, this is what they give me: conjunctivitis, non-infectious conjunctivitis, keratitis. So this is something that I used to do, and instead of that, if I have this, so is there pain? What are the causes in which you pain? So in my undergraduate days, I as a student, I was asked a question, what are the causes of hepatosplenomegaly? And I said there are 48 causes of hepatosplenomegaly. And I came up to 46, and then I wasn't able to say the last 2. And I was failed. This is nonsense. I mean, I said 48 causes. I said you didn't say malaria and Kala Azar. So the most commonest causes were kept by me at the end. So I have a list of things. That is not what you want to know. You want to know what is this patient right now. Can you split these causes according to what? Is there a vision loss? Is there pain? So what things you would think of? Is there vision loss? Next. So what is it the first that you are going to think about? And this is what you are going to incorporate in your OSCE. So can you formulate 4 questions that you're going to ask the patient? Can you tell me what are the 4? So I'm going to ask pain, vision loss. What is the position of those questions? Is pain going to be the one that you're going to ask first? Pain versus no pain, and then you are going to ask vision loss. How is it going to happen? So are you forming your concepts? That is what you want to know, because this is the student being formed. And you are not trying to find out whether he knows something or doesn't know something. You are trying to help him learn that this is how I'm supposed to learn. I'm not supposed to learn a list of things. I'm supposed to decipher, make concepts, and try to get to a problem solving. Because effectively in life it is going to be problem solving. So then your questions will be problem-based learning questions, like a 48-year-old patient with contact lens use gets a leaf brush injury to the eye with contact lens on and presents the next day with a red eye and the diminishing. So the first thing, some of the good students come and tell me leaf injury, and they say it's a vegetative trauma and this is fungal ulcer. But you got a contact lens on. How will you get a fungal ulcer with a contact lens on? Right? So this contact lens was used where? So your mind is thinking in terms of a vegetative trauma and a fungal ulcer, but it is a contact lens related issue, and that's where you tell them by asking such framed questions which are based on the taxonomy. So I can ask you simple questions on the knowledge base, on the Bloom's technology. What is the percentage of blindness in India? I mean, this is just memory. Versus some question like this, which is a higher order question in the taxonomy, which is testing the cognitive skills of the student and whether he is learning in the right way. Or another question, 40-year-old male from Ghana with a sudden history of pain and vomiting present the next day. He is a patient of Ebola and now serologically cleared. So what do you think about, will you be able to touch his eye? So things like this. So now I'm asking him and making him think about, is Ebola secreted in tears? So the question should be formed in such a way that you don't lead the thing and tell him, you know, Ebola's tears are secreted in the, I will forget this. It's like, so this patient has come from Ghana and this is, what do you want to do? And are you wearing the gloves when you're touching? So this patient is from Ghana and he's just seen a patient, he's just been in contact with, and you see him not wearing the gloves, this student of yours, you teach him everything, he's going to die in the next Ebola. Or he's going to get coronavirus from the next conjunctivitis from a patient if he doesn't elicit the history of China travel or conjunctivitis after the China travel, because conjunctivitis has been noted in some of these cases. So will you wear gloves? Will you wear a mask when you're seeing such patients like this? So these are skills, safety skills, and skills which you want to understand, and so your OSEX should. So traditionally whatever is given about OSEX in the internet sites and everywhere is something which is just preliminary. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lead you to where it should be. So you have the BMJ Red Eye model in which I have. Yeah. So some of the things here, so some of these are what I use in my OSEX. So some issues with Cox, and I've just, basically you set your own objectives. I'll just run through the slides now. Provide a good teaching environment. Your teaching environment and your examination environment and your assessment environment is the same. You bridge the gap between the student and you. You ensure good communication. Set good examples by role modeling. So I wear my gloves, so you know suddenly that he's wearing the gloves because it's a conjunctivitis patient. Involve the students. Observe the student, and this is where your observation gives rise to an OSEX. So you're observing the clinical and saying he wore the gloves, he did. So there are 10 things that you will observe there. So a typical day is like this, teaching and learning in a very small form, everything else more, but then this is how it should be. So it's a patient factory out there. You integrate your work. Your island of teaching is your island of tranquility. You want to expand that. And establish expectations, plan activities, give feedback, match the educational goals. So your educational goals were he should learn about dengue eye disease, but he's interested in cataract. You tell him that there might be a patient of dengue, so you find out from something that you've seen in Delhi. There was a case where dengue was operated, patient with cataract was operated and he had bleeding, and then we realized that he had dengue and the platelets had gone down, and the platelet counts was 7 days ago before the patient got the dengue. So this something like this, you try to attract his attention towards dengue and what has happened from the last blood test that the patient has done, right? So this is how, when you are the role model, be creative. And it works very well. So those are the steps. And feedback is something which is important, that you have to give the feedback at the right time. So once you've done the OSEX, you can't say I will give you the results some days later. You have to tell him the results just after that. So the clinic is over, just wait, I'll tell you what has happened in this OSEX. So teachable moments I'm not going to talk about. The whole thing is that you consider evolving yourself as an educator, grow yourself and try to incorporate OSEX, OSS, Oscars, everything in your this thing. And when an educational opportunity arises, continue with your evaluation finally. So this is the last slide. Your evaluation finally of your bedside teaching will be formative in terms of portfolio, summative in terms of direct observation, and finally an OSCE. The OSCE is something that your DNB does. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Is there something?